We're in my village, Gotham, and this is Smudge, our family dog. These are the walks we all used to come down years and years ago, around the farms. We've had some terrible weather while I've been over here, but today it is beautiful. Lovely blue skies, blazing sunshine. It's just struck 6 a.m. This is Smudge. She's a Border Collie. Like the rest of us, she's getting old, but she still likes her early morning walks. All these crops will be wanting to be gotten in as soon as they dry out again. They were going flat out before we had Storm Anthony, but hopefully this week it's going to be up in the high 20s, 27, 28, 29 degrees, so the farmers will be able to get all their crops in. This is a public bridleway, so anybody can come down here. Well, it's not a bridleway, it's a public walk. There's a lot of bridleways where you can come with a horse, but this is a walk. In the distance you can see polytunnels where they grow a lot of plants for the winter. So the local shops and supermarkets have got plants to sell. Just shows we can actually grow things without having to buy everything from the European Union. Where's Smudge? Oh, she's got in front of me now. Unfortunately, we've got no music. Well, you haven't, I have. I've got my headphones on. We've got the crops in from the neighbouring fields anyway. They must have done all that before the rain came. I know somebody from back home must be watching, from Ireland. Come on, Smudge. Come on, Smudge. Come on, Smudge. Come and say hello to the camera. Come on, Smudge. I know you don't trust this thing stopping in front of you, but such is life, you movie star. Good girl. These trails head down to the moors where somebody, an old lady, fell in the other day trying to get her dog out, and she couldn't get out, and I think she hurt herself, so they had to call an ambulance for her. Bit unfortunate. People do daft things to rescue their dogs. And so you wouldn't realise that under all that growth is actually running water. There comes Smudge. Come on, Smudge, let's go. Good girl. In the distance there we've got British gypsum, where a lot of the plasterboard for this area came from. I think nowadays they just tend to process plaster. I don't know where they buy it in from, but there used to be a lot of plasterboard mines in Gotham, going back donkey's years. In fact, they used to use the mines as a bomb shelter during the war, because you could actually go walking down to the mines. They were a drift mine, they weren't drop mines with a mine shaft. It's a better view of the polytunnels. Go on, Smudge, let's go. You can see how much rain we've had here, because everywhere's so very green. I mean, where I'm living now in Ireland, it's always green, but we would expect the grass to be half dead at this time of the year around here. We've had a few miserable summers, to be honest, cold and wet. That's another field that needs fetching in. The farmers are going to be busy this week, working a bit more than 9 to 5, that's a fact. They'll be out there at this time of the day and long into the evening with the combine. And there's Smudge, he's still coming. Come on, Smudge. She's more interested in sniffing. All these dikes go all the way around. During the summer they usually dam them up a bit at the end so the water builds up inside the dikes, and then they can put a mechanised diesel driven pump pipe down into the water and spray the fields on a drag hose pipe. Well, it's not really a hose pipe, it's just like something out of Land of the Giants, and it wrenches the hose across the field overnight and belts out a load of water all over the field. And then at the end of the crop season they clear the dam and the water drops again and goes back to where it was. I think this field had rapeseed oil in it. I suppose that all needs combining as well. A lovely big tree. That bit isn't a public right of way, that's just for the farmers' tractors to go around his fields. You can always see where you're going around here, where you can and can't go, because there's a post showing which way the public right of way and public footpath or bridle ways all come and go from. So we have to go this side of the field so we don't damage the farmers' crops. Some people don't have much consideration and go across people's private property, which isn't on. But when you've grown up in the village, you know what the rules are and you respect them. The farmers don't mind you walking around so long as you don't damage anything. You'd probably say to yourself, what can you damage? It's only a field. But this is the bread you eat, just waiting to be processed. Over in the far distance, I don't know whether you can see them, there's some enormous factories or units being built. They're nearly all like logistics hubs leading up to the airport, and it's dreadful. They're building them on really the best farmland in this part of Nottinghamshire. Lovely and flat ground. Always had really, really good crops on them. They should build that where you can't grow anything. But that's modern governments for you. They don't think about anything. They just think, oh, we can import it. I think we should be self-sufficient. We've got plenty of fields. Two-thirds of the country is practically green belt. Probably more. I don't know the statistics. I just know we've got vast amounts of unbuilt on land, and we should be using it, not just looking at it. We should let the farmers farm with as little restriction as possible. I mean, when we grew up around here, they used to muck spread. They used to have the cows, and they'd throw all the manure and rubbish all over the fields. It got rid of it all, and it was like free fertilizer. Now we have government bodies saying you can't do this and you can't do that, all trickle down rubbish from Europe from the old days, and we don't seem to have got rid of it. Now a lot of that manure has to be processed and taken away at more expense to the poor farmers that are struggling to make a living. Like I say, farmers should be left to farm, and we should reap the benefits of well-produced, cheap food. I mean, don't get me wrong, it did used to stink for about 2 weeks when they were doing muck spreading, and it was gagging. But when you grew up in the village, you knew at a certain time of the year it was muck spreading time, and you needed a peg for your nose. But a lot of these new lovies that come down and hitch their wagons to our village didn't grow up around this kind of environment, so they haven't got a clue. Same, we used to have lorries going through the village. A lot of the new imported families, I don't mean imported from abroad, I mean those with a few more bob that decided they want to come and live here, didn't like lorries and petitioned against them, and that drove haulage companies that were based around here out of the village altogether. Oh, she's hanging back. Come on, Smudge. Come on, Smudge. She's getting on, but she's still mobile. She doesn't go chasing after squirrels and rabbits anymore. I think she knows when she's beaten. Come on, Smudge. Good girl. We won't go for a big long one. Come on, Smudge. Smudge, come on. And you can see the water down in that dike. So they haven't needed to use it much this year. The water authorities control how much they use, not like the old days when you could just block it up and let it build up yourself. Now, Severn Trent now, the water company, they come and inspect and monitor how much water they take out. I don't know whether they charge them for it, they probably do. I mean, it's free water, it drops from the sky and there's plenty of it. We can go months and months and months without the country being declared a drought area. We've got some big reservoirs and they're all pretty damn full. And you can see the reservoirs when you fly into East Midland Airport. Great big man-made lakes with all our precious drinking water. There's plenty of water, you just have to collect it. When you go around the continent and they say, oh, we've got a drought, but they don't collect the damn water. You should be in Spain in September, October, November. They have some enormous thunderstorms. They don't even have drains in the roads and the water just runs straight out to the sea. You have the fire engines at the bottom of the streets around Alicante just pumping water that should be collected and saved, and it just goes straight out to the sea. Drinking water that they say is precious, and they just let it flow away, and then they say, oh, we've got a drought. At least we do have good drains. For those people in places like America, I suppose these fields look tiny. You wouldn't see any hedgerows, you just see a field as far as the eye can see. These are pretty big for this part of the world. There's another field needs fetching in. They really are going to be busy, the poor old farmers. They really are beholden to the weather. The sky is absolutely beautiful. Really, really blue. She's not doing too bad actually, keeping up. I was going to keep this going until we got down to the railway line, but it's still a good way off yet. And you can only go live, keep looking at field after field of corn before it gets boring. So I'll show you one last picture of Smudge, and then I'll say we're going to go. Say hello, Smudge. Good girl. This is us signing off from our walk. We've still got a good way to go, but there's no point in dragging you along with it. Okie dokie, bye bye.